People get super quiet around the new moon. It is the darkest time energetically of the month, from a lunar perspective. So a lot of us feel like we want to put ourselves out in timeout around the new moon, which as you start paying attention to some of these energetic cycles, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so then starts that curiosity of like, well, what does this mean? And how does this work? And then you figure out over time kind of how that works for you. And the rest, as they say, is history.
That's kind of making me think, sometimes I organize workshops, local workshops and things like that. And I mean, sometimes, yeah, lately I would just say I haven't paid attention to the moon cycles at all. So it'd be kind of curious for me to look back and to see whether or not my attendance level is affected by my
For
choice.
sure.
Yeah. And I mean, when you're talking about it, it's kind of, let's say you're in sales and marketing or you're running your own business and you have to go make a whole bunch of content. Maybe making it at the new moon isn't when you do that because you might want to go in
Correct.
and be a little bit introspective. So it's almost as though, you're riding the wave and then, you're like going uphill if you're not going with the flow of the world around you.
Right. And so this is where like this social pressure comes in, right? And I'm just coming off, I think I've taken, this is day 7 of us. Like I took an unexpected break from social media. I have had a lot of things this last week that I've had to navigate. And, that's counter to the expectation of society of like to be successful, you're supposed to show up every day and it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter that, and I'm using this as kind of a silly example, but I think it drives the point home of like, our society wants us to navigate as if we're a man, which runs on a 24-hour clock. And in fact, we're not men. We're women that run on a 28-day clock. And that solar cycle, sorry, I'm going to just back up for a second. Men run on energies similar to the sun, where the sun rises and sets every day. Women run on cycles around the moon, which our menstrual cycle can be completely tied to the 28-day cycle of the moon. So there's a lot of similarities even there, just on how these things work and how we as women work. Our moon sign is our internal dialogue. So when we were talking before we jumped on, how we think about our feelings and our emotional body, like truly is what we live with every single day, whether we're paying attention to it or not. So wouldn't it be helpful to have a little bit of insight on how we tick so that we can show up a little bit differently?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And for